gonna say invaluable information or something, but anyway, let's open this up and see what we have to work with tonight. For those of you who've been around a while, like a good while, this might look a little familiar. And that is not a bad thing. Ooh, I like that a lot. Ooh, this is a very cool deck. How many of the game references did you catch in that one? With the golden cartridge backs for those two. I'm looking forward to this one. And as we shuffle up these cards, please get yourself nice and comfy, my friend. We should have ourselves a good one. And as we begin, what is your favorite retro game? And I think retro has changed a bit from like 1995 before to 2005 before. So, let's just leave a little favorite game down below. And let's see what coolness there is. And if you wouldn't mind, give a little description of that game. And I will get into our first one at that. So officially, another step closer to 1,000 Solitaire videos. And another stride closer to our 700th Solitaire video. So crazy thinking about, but let's enjoy the one at hand tonight. As we have ourselves a promising looking start. I like the way that looks. So let's begin. Alright, so we need a jack of each color. Preferably black, then red. And we have a spot for a king. There is that black jack. And some good building going on here. We'll get into a little bit of retro games after our first time through. So let's enjoy our first round. Honestly, but you never know. Triple fives on the field. So what do we think of when we hear retro game? For myself, I think of number one, The Angry Video Game Nerd. I remember watching that pretty much since it hit YouTube all those years ago. And secondly, I think of as a retro game. I know, kinda lame, but who cares? As there's nowhere for that 2, 6, 2, 7, and lastly 8. As we wrap up our first game with a little bit of some difficulty, just to double check: 2, 6, 2, 7, and 8. So let's clean it up and move on to our next. Some doubles in there. Alright, let's do a casino shuffle before we continue our little conversation. These cards have a much different texture, a little more waxy, and not as textured throughout the card. So, different sounds. Can you hear them? Alright, so what do you classify as a retro game? In my head, I think most people think of Mario or Zelda, but I think of games that look just like this that are kind of knockoff games. There used to be this game called Bible Adventures that was pretty interesting, that just ripped off a bunch of popular games. I think of that one a bit. And I think for me, the line where I still consider a game retro is right now Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. Anything before that, I think, has a good retro factor to it. But I think my favorite game, retro game, I think Sonic's a good contender for sure. But there is this game which is called Shining Force, and that game was pretty much my childhood. So I doubt that you're familiar with it, but if you are, let me know. So in this game, it's a typical RPG game where you have to save a princess, at least for Shining Force 2. And you create a team of characters with a max of 12 that you can level up and promote into different classes, fighting off typical mythical beasts such as a kraken, a Roman god, kind of a steel man bigger than a building, pretty much like Medusa, I suppose, and just bats, rats, goblins, all that type of stuff. And it was really fun. It was for the Sega Genesis, but my brother had the emulator on his computer, and that's how I would play it. I've probably spent probably a month playing that game. Easily. Something about an RPG game, in my opinion, that makes it so fun are the statistics. music was so good. It has a lot of nostalgia for me, as this is our third play, as we're having a bit of a comeback here. What else? Oh yeah, the statistics part of it. The first game was a bit more random. I think it came out in 1991 on the Sega Genesis as well. And this would be our third play once again. And in the second game, the statistics would keep your kills, deaths, attack, defense, speed, agility, not speed, your movement, your health power, magic power, and for each enemy you would defeat, you would get experience points depending on your level. It just, I don't know, I always find games where you have to work for it more gratifying. And this was my introduction to pretty much gaming as we get our first fat stack of the night. The game is pretty popular, but I think it's kind of outdated, but still a fun story in a sense. Ooh, alright. Triple Kings, the moment of truth. Now we're for that 10, now we're for that king. Time to stack what we can and see if we can wean. Fourth ace. 2, 2. Oh no, I think we ran into the wall. Yeah, now we're for that 10 or king. Can't go any further there with the spades. And that is almost it. We have one last 5 we cannot get to. At least we had a good comeback and a fat stack. But on to game number 3. Anyway, I'll shut up about that game. I just love it. Great music, decent story, fun, playability, challenging, fun characters. I actually considered doing a video triple jacks. Those guys have been very mischievous lately. I considered doing like a ASMR let's play of that, but I don't think it would catch on. Maybe, but probably not. Let's see, Sonic, probably. I think I prefer Sonic over Mario. At least in the 90s. Sonic just had that extra, I guess, graphics power that Mario didn't have during the earlier part of the 90s. And the music was just so funky. For those of you who don't know, for Sonic 3, guess who wrote the music? Alright, so here's the story behind that. In the early 90s, Michael Jackson loved Sonic, but he was under contract to where he could not create music for anything besides his label. So he made some Sonic tracks from during his History album era. And those tracks were credited to someone else in the game credits, but it's widely known that he is the one with the creative, I guess, composition behind it. And I think another similar situation regarding that was with The Simpsons, where he had to give himself a fake name under similar terms. I think when it was Lisa's birthday, And I think that's our third play. 9-10 king, I believe. We don't need to yet. There we go. And once again. Oh, dang it. Dang it, dang it. Anyway, we could put that down. That. And we are still in play. Ooh, another game I enjoyed was called Dig Dug. I think that one's more popular in the States. I remember playing Galaga. That stuff was so fun. I think it was Galaga, Dig Dug, Pac-Man, and one other game on this ROM emulator for the Super Nintendo. Super Mario All-Stars, of course, as I think that's the end of our... What game is this? Third game. 6-5. 6-5, Queen, Queen, 9. Alright, on to game number 4, I suppose. And on with that, we will do a casino shuffle. With triple eights, there it is. And that is it to the negative stats. Would you classify computer games as retro games? I think we can all consider Frogger a retro game. But would you classify Bejeweled, Pinball, or Space Pinball Cadet as retro games? Spider Solitaire, Minesweeper. I don't know. I think that's a gray area. But I think the fact that it's a game puts it in contention. I played my butt with some Space Pinball Cadet, Polar Bowler, Spider Solitaire, Minesweeper. I know I'm missing like a couple more, of course, chess, but still. Another game I liked on the computer was, I think it was my brother's game that he got from a CD, like when games came on CDs to download on the computer. Lego Racers. That game. I wish I could play that game again. It was so easy, so fun. And I think racing games were around its peak back then, where pretty much every game had some sort of racing game in its F-Zero. I think a lot of us know that one. I played that quite a bit as well. Triple fours and double sevens. A red 5 is needed. Oh wait. Another red 5. Give us a red 10. That would be nice. Honestly, it's pretty impressive that games came into existence when they did. So much of an experience compacted into like 8 megabytes, 4 megabytes, 16 megabytes of storage. Alright, now we're for that Jack 2, King 8, and King as we move on to our last game. Triple sevens, double fours, 5s, and Jacks hold us back as we head into the last one. I was never really a fan of Zelda. Come to think of it, triple threes or Pokemon. But I have a feeling if I were to play them now, that it would be something I would dedicate a lot of time if I had it. So I just know better not to do it with how I like to level up in games. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Wario Land 4, but I think that's kinda new in that gray area. It was on the Game Boy Advance. Doom, Metroid, I think Spider-Man Carnage, Venom Carnage on the Super Nintendo. It was, oh, Streets of Rage, X-Men. I forget, it's kind of like a side-scroller beat-em-up. I always played as Gambit, Wolverine, and oh, I'm trying to remember. I think it was mainly Gambit and Wolverine. I think it's kind of fitting that I played with Gambit back then. Who else? What else did I play? Oh, Super Punch-Out! When I played that game, it took a while because I was young and dumb. But I could never get past the Cuban Tornado, I think was his name. The Cuban, yeah, I think that was it. That was tough. Bomberman, oh yeah, that was really fun. Final game Punch-Out Street Fighter. But I always got my butt kicked, so I stopped. Oh, how could I forget? This game I loved the heck out of. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. That game is just so fun. So freaking fun. Anyway, we come down to the final seeming seconds of our night, as we cannot make another play, as there's nowhere for that queen, nowhere for that king. King and 5. Nothing on the field. Time to clean it up. Alright, so this deck, a little bit of a cheaper card, but it did not affect the playability or durability too much. Lovely art design, simplistic back design that is fitting to the theme. So lots of goods, nothing bad. This one deserves a solid 8-bit score, as we just avoid any negative stats to wrap up our night. And that's it. Quite a talkative episode tonight. We're almost there to 700 and I'm excited. That's it, my friend. I had fun. I hope you did too. If you're still awake, let me know one of your older favorite games and give a little description. Maybe I'll come around to play it. Raymond, I remember that. Crash Bandicoot. This weird hexagon type game that I forget, but so many more. Not enough time. And just like that, our night is done. So please have a relaxing remainder of yours. Many sweet dreams. Until I meet again, stay safe.